packed panel that we have with all the leading personas who are enabling some of the EV ecosystem enablers, I would say. So I would like to, first talk Mr. Vinkesh Gulati, President FADA. You have seen that how, from you I wanted to broadly understand how you have experienced the EV growth in India, and with respect to dealer network, I think that that growth is sustainable, that is complementing the EV growth, and what specific challenges dealers are facing with respect to EV segment?
So, thanks, Jyoti. Overall, everybody agrees in the auto fraternity that EV is here. Maybe category-wise, the ratio is different as we talk. So, I'll give you the total first, and then I'll come down to two-wheeler. So, when we see the overall percentage, May we had seen some 4.1% of electric vehicle registration happening. And if we dissect it separately, the best category of EV ratio was three-wheelers, which had 56.2, followed by two-wheeler, which was 3.2, and passenger vehicle 1.1, and CV was 0.3. Obviously, May was one of the good months for electric vehicle ratios. And if I talk about the H1 and specifically two-wheeler, we have seen 3.6% of electric vehicle ratio. Obviously, the dealers are ready for that. I have been listening, I have been sitting here for the past 2 hours and listening from different people about issues being faced, customers' mindset being regarding range anxiety or all things. But as a dealership, I feel differently actually. Even today, only 3% of the dealers are selling electric vehicle. And when 3% are selling and 3% is your market share, then what's the problem? If 97% of dealers today don't have an electric vehicle in their showroom, and we are living in a society, Indian psyche, where कहावत है dealers में जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. So if a showroom doesn't have an electric vehicle, obviously we can't talk about that. What's the problem? And then we talked about range anxiety and the issues like petrol को 2 मिनट में भरता है, 4 घंटे लगते हैं. I feel if we sell some 12 to 14 lakh two-wheelers in India every month, at least 4 or 5 lakh two-wheeler customers every month would have their own home. I'm not talking 100%, but at least that ratio should have their own home. Own home means where they can park their scooter every night at the same location and in their control, which means a 3-point plug can easily be installed there. So no doubt if you want to go through a ratio of 50%, 60%, there would be a problem. Like many said, you are a tenant and maybe the ground floor is of a landlord, how can you ask him? Or if you are in an apartment which is 10 floors, how can you have a charging point? But that could be an issue where you are talking of metros or capital towns, but tier 2, tier 3 towns, I feel everybody has their own home. Most of them, I'm not saying 100%. So as for me, somewhere the message which is going down the line overall is more emphasizing on the range anxiety, whatever PR media. You search Google and you will find EV problem is range anxiety. Whereas I have been brought up in Allahabad, where I have seen, we had a petrol pump also. And out of the two-wheeler customers who came to get the petrol, 50% of the two-wheeler customer gave only 10 rupees for petrol, half liter petrol for that day only, which means they weren't interested for topping up the tank also. So this is India where we live in, where the two-wheeler customer today, if I talk about two-wheelers, below 60,000 two-wheeler is more than 50% which is sold. Where nobody thinks of topping up tank. they think about where I have to use today. If I am going to 20 kilometers, I need petrol for only 20 kilometers. If I am going 10 kilometers, why to fill more? So I feel the range anxiety have been overblown by all of us sitting in this room and not by a customer who is sitting in maybe a rural village or a rural town. If he has a home where he has a 3-point plug, a two-wheeler is good enough, and I can prove that by numbers. You're talking about three-wheeler, 56% market share. Have you seen electric three-wheeler moving around in Delhi more? No, you'll find it more in Lucknow, Raipur and all. So why are they able to buy three-wheeler and why not the same numbers are buying two-wheelers? Because three-wheelers, it makes economical sense to them. The price is good. So for a two-wheeler, I can buy a 60,000 bike, but if I want to buy or a 70, 80,000, Activa is now 90,000. So 90,000 where I have to buy a similar kind of electric two-wheeler, I have to give 1,50,000 or 1,40,000. Whereas if I want to buy a CNG or a diesel three-wheeler, it would be 2 lakh plus. An electric three-wheeler would be 1.1 or 1.2. And it is economical for me. And I'm talking of a person who even doesn't have a pakka house also. He may be living in a slum area. Then too he is able to charge. And then too we are able to sell him electric vehicle and he doesn't have a range anxiety. But a scooter owner who doesn't drive more than 10-20 kilometers per day has a range anxiety. So I feel somewhere, I'm sorry sitting in such a big gathering where everybody is planning technology for range. As per me as a dealer, I don't feel that is a bigger problem. I feel unless and until 50-60% of dealers have a scooter to show as electric vehicle, you shouldn't talk of issues in electric vehicle. You talk of CNG. What happened practically? Maruti came up with CNG and everybody said that there is a big issue because we don't have CNG stations. And what slowly happened? One city had one CNG station. Government pressurized on buses to convert into CNG. That CNG station became 2, 3. Maruti increased their market share in CNG. Now Tata is behind them, Honda is behind them. Everybody is coming in CNG. So it's actually, I don't know what's the question first, chicken or egg. So we have to decide. I don't feel so it's the range. I feel unless and until all the major ICE two-wheeler manufacturers start launching EVs and give it to their dealers to sell, till that time issues from customers are just discussions which we put in their mouth and not the practical issues. If we have an affordable electric vehicle on the ground, I feel two-wheeler is a segment which we will see a very faster adoption and I feel equivalent to three-wheeler. I feel I answered.
Thank you, Vinay. I think we have OEM Electric with us, and Ketan can answer some of the concerns that you are seeing. So, Ketan, from you, probably my question is, what has been the growth of POP in the last 2 months? How you are seeing this growth is going to turn up for next few years probably, and how you are ensuring in terms of safety of your products that you are manufacturing?
At Hop Electric, I think the biggest event right now which is happening is we are launching our high-speed motorcycle next month. We already have the CMVR approval and we are ready for mass production. That's the biggest thing. We're the only sort of product which is we've been on road for the last 6 months. We've completed 75,000 kilometers of on-road testing even before the launch. We're taking it quite differently from any other product where launch happens first and then we have the production. So we're doing the testing, we're figuring out the production issues first and then we'll do a launch and probably within 15 days of launch we'll start delivery of the product. So that's how differently we are doing it. The second big thing which is happening at Hop is since we now are part of the PLI scheme, under that regime, all the investments, commitments and all that is happening from starting this year because PLI is major boost or major differentiation which we think will happen over 5 years, especially post the subsidy goes away. So this is on battery side. I think so that has been another reason why we had to postpone our launch by 3 times over the last 6 months, because every time there's a new issue in the battery in the market, we were sort of motivated to go back to the drawing room and even further improve the battery technology, and feel confident now that we are at a level where we can comfortably say that we've created a product which is waterproof, fireproof, mechanical, electrical. The level of testing which has happened over the last year or so is so extraordinary. It will come out in form of videos and all of that next month before the launch. But the level of R&D and testing we have done, basically from cell to pack manufacturing, is we're very proud of our team that we have achieved. We've got the AIS 156 on the battery safety. We're putting our batteries in water for hours and then putting it on a vehicle for high-speed testing. We're dropping the battery, we're putting it in fire. So we're doing all sorts of crazy things with our batteries and trying to just make sure that it works, because at high-speed application, running at 90 km/h on Indian roads, difficult terrains, especially a motorcycle, will have to go through all sorts of difficult road conditions and different sets of user behaviors. So I think it's very important that the product is thoroughly tested, proven before it is put into the hands of the consumer.
Thank you, Ketan. Good to know that you are putting so much of effort on the testing of the product. Let's hear it from Akash, you now. So Zip has been a daily site now in a lot of our deliveries, daily home deliveries. We want to understand from you, what growth you have seen in last few months in this segment, and what do you think specifically about the last mile delivery? Any insights around that?
So before I talk about last mile delivery, hello to everyone and hello to the panelists and the audience. See, one thing, if you would have noticed on your Twitter feeds, yesterday the president of US said very clearly that climate change is a national emergency, right? And if you know the temperatures in London these days, which we all must be checking, they are touching 35-40 degrees and they've never seen those temperatures, right? There are no ACs in the houses or hotels of London because people are not used to those temperatures. They only have heaters because they have cold. So that's the reality of the world that we are living in, right? And I would like to also add to this that we are ideally the first generation which are seeing this kind of climate change, and possibly the last generation which can act around it, right? So that was the thesis why we started solving the problem of adoption of electric vehicles or getting to sustainable mobility. Now, why we picked the problem of logistics or last mile delivery is because that's where the maximum number of people are driving the maximum number of kilometers every day. As very rightly said by the fellow panelists, that a personal commuter would go max to office, would come back home. That's around 25, 30, 20, 15 kilometers. But that delivery executive is riding 100, 120 kilometers every day. And that's when, if he's riding on a petrol bike, he's guzzling most, fuel. And with rising fuel prices at $100, a liter, he's not able to save anything. Everything that he was saving earlier, when the fuel was at 75 and the delivery, companies were able to pay more incentives because they were well funded, the guy was making more money. But now, when you book in Ola and Uber, if the guy cancels the ride, it's because he's not making enough money, right? And the companies have to become profitable. So I think that is essentially the problem statement that we at Zip realized. That one, yes, EV is an answer. EV is a great answer because this delivery executive can now save a lot of money for himself. If he shifts from a petrol bike to electric, petrol bike he's spending about 9,000 rupees on fuel. On EV, he can actually get this done in 1,000 bucks, right? So 8,000 net saving, which is going back to his home, right? So EVs are imminent; they have to happen. Now, when you talk about last mile delivery, as Jyoti rightly asked, so we saw a crazy adoption over the last 12 months, right? So the adoption I can say that we've grown as a company 12x in the last 12 months, right? In terms of the number of deliveries that we do now. In terms of number of vehicles, April 21 we were at about 400-500 vehicles. Now we are at 6,000 live electric fleets running on the streets of Delhi NCR, delivering almost about 35-40,000 shipments a day, right? Now, if you can imagine how many shipments get delivered in our country every day. Any guesses? There are about 40 crore. 40 crore shipments get delivered every day. That means these delivery executives are actually knocking 40 crore doors and delivering shipments, whether it's food, whether it's grocery, whether it's e-commerce or pharma, right? And what we are doing today, you can imagine 40,000 versus 40 crore is nothing. We're just scratching the surface, only in one market. So that's the scope of shift of electrification that last mile delivery in India is looking for, right? Today, also a case in point, while all the customers are wanting to work with us, whether it's the top e-commerce companies or the food companies or the grocery companies or the bike taxi companies, everyone who's working with a delivery boy who owns a petrol bike is struggling, right? Why they're struggling? Because this guy wants to earn more. He one day will work on a Zomato, the other day he'll work on Big Basket, the third day he'll work on a Zepto. Why? Because he wants to make more money. Whoever throws more money, he'll shift. Because he has his own bike. He is his own driver. What we are shifting the world of logistics towards is that I have a bike. There are 53 million unemployed people in the country. I bring them here without any capital cost of theirs, and I give them an opportunity to earn with multiple options. Right? You like to deliver goods, you like to deliver food, you like to deliver people. Come on the platform, be flexible, earn. Right? Earn about 500, 600 rupees a day, and that's your savings. No fuel expense, no maintenance expense. Right? So that's the kind of curve that we are seeing. And if you ask what is our, what is our need or where we want to hit, I think we would love to add 1,000, 2,000 vehicles right now every month. We are adding about 1,000 already. Every month for the last 6 months we've been adding, right? And we would love to scale this to about 2,000 vehicles, because the biggest bottleneck is we don't have enough OEMs who are giving quality vehicles at that scale, right? At that price, at that warranty, at that after sales. And we'd love to work with many more to grow this, EV market.
Akash, that's a fantastic growth, I would say. I now
finance. And most traditional financial institutions do not like to finance electric vehicles. And I'll just state a few reasons for that. The first reason is the very obvious one: the products are new, the technology is new, it's unproven. And whether it's the consumer, whether it's financiers, and perhaps even the OEMs do not really have confidence in the product yet and the technology of the product and its longevity. The second is the market is extremely fragmented. We were just talking about three-wheelers as well. 26% sales happen, but they happen across so many thousands of dealerships. A lot of dealerships are selling only 2-3 units a month, right? So it's an extremely fragmented market and is distributed all over the country. The third and the most sort of popular reason for not financing electric vehicles is lack of secondary market. Because financiers don't know what will happen once the vehicles get repossessed, how they get resold, and what will the resale value. And finally, the customers who are buying electric vehicles, especially for commercial purposes, are seen as credit unworthy. Right? So there are the four sort of broad reasons why electric vehicles don't get financed very easily. Now let me talk about how these things can be solved. So I think the first one is on the product itself. And I think there has to be a realization, and there is to an extent, that the products will be proven over a period of time. It will take a few years before they get proven. And until such time, the risk of the product and its failing has to be shared between multiple parties in the ecosystem. Be it the OEM, the financier, the fleet operators, all of them have to share the risk of the product and eventually make it good. And how that risk can be shared is through buyback guarantees, or through loss sharing, and providing extended warranties and so on and so forth. And that's sort of becoming an accepted practice in EV financing today. The second problem on the fragmented market is basically to provide finance digitally. That's the only way one can scale and reach every part of the country where electric vehicles are being sold. The third problem on secondary market, I think again there are two things over there. One is that the market has to be large enough for secondary market to develop. That's one, and that will happen with time. And the second is if the OEM, the dealerships start participating in refurbishment of vehicles and reselling of vehicles, then that can help in enhancing the value of the second-hand vehicle and also create sort of mini points for resale of vehicles. Right? Because at this stage, to create a business that only sells second-hand electric vehicles is going to be extremely challenging. And finally, when you talk about credit-unworthy customers, I think there have to be a lot of different innovative techniques that have to be built in order to underwrite such customers. So we've, at Reference, we've created a few techniques. So as an example, we do psychometric assessment on all our users to determine whether they have the intention to repay or not. We use biometrics for fraud and identity checks. We use telematics and gamification to ensure users pay on time, they pay us digitally, and so on and so forth. So these are some of the solutions.
Thank you, Sameer. I have some follow-up questions, but probably in the next round you will ask. So, Mr. Venkateshan, we have heard from Akash, there is lack of quality products that are available in the market. So, as representative of Continental Corporation, how much, as an entity, you are focusing on the R&D of the EV components that are there?
So, good evening. So, thanks for the question actually. So, I know Conti, actually, you're all familiar with tires, so we do also have a two-wheeler tires, but actually I'll talk more about the automotive side of the electric vehicles. I think the most important thing what we talk about for the ecosystem is actually like, typically we need right value product which actually we can use in India. I think as a Conti, as a technology company, we have a lot of products which actually we can bring in. But most important thing is like how do we adapt that to the Indian conditions and also make it work in India with a good value. Also by which the customers, our customers can use it, and also like say same sort of value addition which they can do. So for that actually like what we see, like today already we are serving the Indian market in passenger vehicle segment as well as the commercial vehicle as well as the two-wheeler. Of course, R&D specific, what you asked, like from the beginning we have been always investing in R&D in India. And our headquarters in Bangalore actually is actually currently with around 6,000 engineers who are actually serving the Indian market as well as for the global market. So what we gain here is what are the developments which are happening in the global price and also the global requirement what we have. Even on the two-wheeler side, we capture it and the Indian teams are working on it. So that I think we can make use of it for the Indian countries also. That's how I think we also gain a lot of experience and also trying to see what actually we can do. And also when you look at the products today, we are actually like serving the IC market with some, of course, some products which are currently used, which also will be slowly coming into the electric vehicles also. Today we are talking more towards, let's say, the scooters, which are actually big in numbers for the electric vehicles, but we also strongly believe that the electric vehicle market will strongly grow, and also see that the motorbikes will also come to existence with some sort of a percentage definitely which will come. Which we already hear like motorbikes will also like have a clear, you can say, market share in the future. So in that actually like there are a lot of products currently we are working on where the Indian team is currently trying to see how to adapt it to the electric vehicle, say sort of an architecture. So I think you might have all known, of course in current conditions in the passenger vehicle side, we are talking about say telematics and also like geofencing and few things like navigation and also the Bluetooth and internet connectivity and all this stuff. Currently in two-wheeler is already a requirement. We see that. Currently, whatever we are trying to do actually on this display areas, including this sort of integral solutions, which actually can enhance the Indian market, how we can serve it. That is also one of the areas that actually we are working on. And for that, the very important part is also the people, the skilled manpower, which actually, like I said, we're continuously investing on this people and then skills so that I think the overall R&D ecosystem is actually developed and also can be used, as I said, for the different products. Similarly, like we also talk about, in some, even in passenger vehicle segment, we are talking about BOTA as a solution which could come maybe very soon. But already, like you see, like some of the electric manufacturers who already launched their products. So these are the things which we see like as a good opportunity, and also with the technology base what we have, and also like the base R&D what we are doing in India. Definitely, this will help the overall ecosystem so that I think we can develop the right products for the I can say also an affordable price. And of course, on the ABS systems and few things what we are working on is actually like currently mostly in the bikes. But as I said, this will go on to the electric motorbikes also, maybe depending on the regulations, it can come to scooters also. Possibility that actually like how we can make it affordable and also provide the right sort of things to the Indian customer. Not like getting the product or what we have in some part of the world to make it work in India. Because most important thing is like how do we really understand Indian conditions, Indian consumer behavior, and also based on the customer requirements, how to adapt that. That is one part. And of course, it's a little bit far away. We're talking about, somebody talked about today in the morning about this sort of how this ADAS features will come into India also on the two-wheeler side, which also we have solutions, but basically like this also, we cannot take the camera-based solutions or a radar-based solution directly to what we see in India, which also has to be adapted. So we need to do a lot of validation, testing, and also like some design modifications, and also like how we balance between software and hardware to launch these products in India. So these are the areas actually currently we are working on. And also some areas like we can say in Europe we have with Conti Engineering Service we have a collaboration with Tata Batteries actually where we have a 48-volt system, battery packs, swappable batteries, which also like quite reliable, tested for quite a while, and then also like which is ready to launch. But basically like this also, but we need to test it for Indian conditions and make sure like this are quite visible in India so that I think it's reliable as well as on the go it can run with good reliability. Similarly, there also what actually we see slow and maybe step by step is like even two-wheeler is actually catching up with the PV industry, and we see like a little bit of integration of electronics happening, not only with one ECU or maybe there's a little bit of you can say scalable electronic platforms we talk about. So where multiple functions can be integrated, so that I think it's actually like possible to do few more things than actually currently what we are doing. Which we could talk about like say for example battery management system which could be integrated. Similarly like a motor control possibly can be integrated. All these things can be essentially part of the ecosystem which finally we are investing on the R&D side. Of course from the manufacturing side I would say Continental is actually having a manufacturing facility for electronics. So we do have, you can say, we can manufacture any electronic products which are currently serving the two-wheeler market as well as the PV market. So any sort of either our own design or even build to print, for example, somebody's design we could also manufacture for them. So electronics manufacturing is possible. Of course, the same percent like semiconductors and all these things which we need to import, but overall you can say there's an electronic manufacturing facility available which actually we can do manufacturing for India. So from the manufacturing side, from the R&D side, also on the overall, you can say the product side, is where actually we're working on. And most importantly, like the software what we bring in, I think that is more important what we see. Because today we are talking about a system, multiple issues are running in some sort of a operating system, which also we have a capability to run maybe for example an operating system for two-wheeler, which also become a reality at some point of time. Where all these issues can be combined together and then maybe like either differentiated but still work on some operating systems. This is the way we see from the two-wheeler side. We believe in the 9 million, 10 million, 12 million what we talk about, but finally like these are the product side what we are working on.
Thank you, Venkatesh, for your comments. I have one set of follow-up questions to some of you, then we can open up the dais for the audience question. So Akash, I want to know from you actually, how much of this last mile delivery segment that we're catering to is driven from these e-commerce platforms? Are they their own sustainability targets that are the main drivers, or is just that cost economics are making sense right now?
So I think one of the reasons why Delhi is very hyper on electric vehicle adoption on the logistics side is also because right. So there's a very good policy from the state government which is mandating all the logistics companies to go 100% electric by 2025, and that's a welcome step. I would say that one of the bold decisions taken by the governments. And I think I'm seeing that Maharashtra is slowly, following those footsteps to kind of do that in Maharashtra also, to go for 100% electrification. Obviously, these years might be shifting a little because of the curve or adoption, but the intent looks good, right? So that's one. Second, I would also say that that's one of the push factors. But the other pull factor is also that all of these companies now, like Amazon or Walmart, right, which is Flipkart, and now Zomato going IPO, all of these companies would now have their own ESG targets that they have to achieve, right? Which is how much carbon are they generating, and are they net neutral or not, right? That is the other factor which is putting the slow pressure, and it will develop, once more pressures are built by the SEBI rules or the ESG rules, and they all clearly know that they have to start now, right? When you open a Zomato app, it shows 100% climate conscious, delivery is what their intent is by 2030, right? So that shows very clearly that ESG is the second, reason why the last mile delivery wants to go electric. And then the third reason, which we are slowly realizing, is also because they realize that the driver churn is the biggest problem, right? So recently there was an ET article also, which very clearly did a dipstick on all the Zomato Swiggy drivers. There's a 40% monthly churn, which means their entire workforce changes every 3 to 4 months, right? And these gig executives, that's a trend, right? They would come, nobody can work for 12 months, 365 days a day, for 12 hours every day, riding a bike on the streets, with so much pollution, right? So anyways, they will have someone in family that they want to go back to their hometowns. So that's another reason why the gig economy will always be a moving curve. It's not going to be one set of audience which will continue to grow. They'll keep cycling themselves every 6-8 months, right? And that churn problem is again the reason why they want to work with players like us, because at least EVs are making them save more, and hence there's more retention. And anyways, there's a B2B contract, so we ensure the deliveries are done on time, the ETAs are met, the downtimes are low.
Thank you, Akash, for these insights. Vikesh, I have my next question for you actually. So you have told earlier, the dealer said only 4 to 5% are selling EVs. But we have seen overall, that IC two-wheeler sales are either stagnant or falling down over previous few years. So aren't the dealers exploring the new avenues to switch to EVs? What has been your sense of the industry on that?
You're right. There was one platform was done this survey, just came out the report a week back, where they said that 97% of the top 100 dealers who they surveyed were interested in pouring into EV. Like I said, there are around 4,000 or 5,000 of two-wheeler dealers who represent the top 4 legacy ICE two-wheeler manufacturers. And agreed, officially or unofficially, they are not allowed to take any other EV OEM due to some dealer agreement how we go ahead. So obviously they are waiting for their OEMs to come up with the electric vehicle, and as they come, they will get that. But there are a lot of other players which are going ahead. What major issue is, what as at FAD also we are trying to put ahead is, there are a lot of, I'm sorry sitting at this position, but there are a lot of new startups which are coming in which don't have a proper future planning. So in the past 2 years, we have gone through at least 4 or 5 EV manufacturers who have come up with the low range products which are not required to get so many approvals from different government bodies, and obviously the restrictions for them is also less. And they've tried, burned their hands and closed the shop. And obviously, initially, if you are not investing in battery technology or the BMS or doing an R&D for future, you just need a shed to assemble the EV electric vehicle two-wheeler, procure some items and and the subsidies are so good that you can even benefit because of that. So already 4 of them which I know of, and we even have complaints which we are handling through MRT, which is already been in the process. But these are some issues. Whenever such growth happens, such new technology comes, these kind of disruptions are there. But overall, what is happening is that even the good players who are in the market, their capacity of making electric vehicle is not that high as compared to ICE. And that is a bigger problem. So if I talk about top companies like Okinawa, Ather, they are not able to expand their dealership network at all districts in India. Very limited districts they have, I feel. They're all below 100, where you can buy an electric vehicle two-wheeler in India. Whereas if I talk about dealerships, like there are 1,000 dealerships of one ICE manufacturer with some 2,000 outlets, which are what we say as rural outlets. But if I compare with electric vehicle, there are only some 100 districts which are represented by electric vehicle manufacturers. So maybe somewhere the production capacity is a problem for EV two-wheeler ecosystem. So once it addressed, like Hopper company, the other manufacturer coming in, they can increase their production capacity. And I'll be happy once production capacity comes to a level when the competition starts. I think the customer will be looking, buying a vehicle at 1.5, 1.6, maybe with the competition, without even paying, they'll come down to 1 lakh, and we dealers will be happy to sell those vehicles.
Absolutely. Ketan, probably you would have answered to that, as Vikesh is saying that we are also seeing every new day there is a new brand that is coming up. Even the traditional players, Bajaj and TVS, have already entered in this market. So seeing the kind of competition, what do you think will be the key differentiators for a success company?
So I think the product side, there are two things. I think one is, of course, we all talk about robust product quality, battery R&D, in-house manufacturing. I think that is a given. There is no two ways about it. Without, these are the basic checkbox which has to be taken. Without which, I think product should not even come on in any consumer's hands or for a launch or anything like that. So I think that is a basic checkbox. But apart from that, I think a lot of disruption will also happen on the energy side. Because I firmly believe that right now there is almost about 40% subsidy on every product which is being sold, and which is like artificially. In fact, I was just finishing a meeting at MHI just before this, so they are very clear that post 2024 there is no subsidy extension. So that is going to happen. So I think with that scenario coming in, we will see every product which is selling at X today will become suddenly 2X, because you take out the 47% subsidy. That's going to be a big hit, and I don't think Indian consumers are ready to bite that bullet. Even if whatever petrol prices and all that, but selling a two-wheeler above 2 lakh rupees will be a challenge. Whatever features you may add or whatever specifications. So I think energy, apart from robust product, R&D on the components, batteries, motors, making something which is designed for Indian roads, made in India. That is the first key. And second, we are looking at a lot of disruption on the energy side, which is how to decouple energy, how to work on the whole energy ecosystem. We have our charging stations, we have battery as a service, modules. So a whole sort of innovative concepts where we combine renewable energy with batteries to give something extra to the consumer, so that this burden of once the subsidies go out or something like that, so those burdens can be made in an attractive format for the consumer, so that hit is not immediately visible, and there is more confidence on the technology itself. So I think both on the product side, vehicle side, as well as the energy side, I think disruption should happen and has to happen for this mobility to reach at a point where we can say we are sustainable even without any external support. So that is what we are focused on.
Do you think after 2024 that inflection will be there? without
2024, if we are not prepared well, yes, so I think right now is the time to prepare for 2024 and beyond.
Thanks, Ethan. Venkateshan, from you, do you think India can produce EV components which are price competitive and which can help reduce the cost of EVs, upfront cost of EVs to some bit?
I think I strongly believe that. Like, definitely, I think I'm sure like the overall volumes will be pick up together, and then the initial investments actually whatever we are trying to do actually it's possible that we can do it with the volumes of spend. But I think the most importantly the point what I said is like what does the Indian consumer need, and also like how we can adapt our products in such a way like really what they need, and not to the maximum levels actually. So in that way, I think the product optimization is actually becoming a most important thing. Of course, I think we talked about one is the basics like the reliability and also EV, which is the range and also the reliability. But also very important thing is like the differentiators. Also like how do we maybe like give a little bit of some unique features which are actually like which are right for the people which actually who can take it. Of course, we are talking about two types of EVs here. One is the city range and also like some sort of maybe a higher range here. But more importantly, like the important topic is like how do we, even the products what we sell to our OEMs actually should be at the right level of pricing. And only I think they can adapt it to the overall to the ecosystem. Of course, we know like day by day the electronic content is increasing, which will actually like increase the overall cost. But how do we really optimize the electronic content in such a way like this can be offered in such a way, but at the same time the features are not. So that's what I think we are working on.
So my last question for you, Sameer. You have talked a bit about the kind of financing products, but I also wanted to know from you on the insurance side of it. Given the kind of safety issues, the fire accidents that are happening, insurance plays a very important role, I think. So how do you think the insurance ecosystem is going to develop to take care of such kind of issues and give that kind of safety net?
So I think I would say two things. One is that whilst it's not difficult to get vehicles insured, getting the claims are very difficult. The claim success rates are extremely low. And in fact, for us, for our first 2 years, we were not able to even get one claim processed. And that was because all the insurance was distributed, they were being done at individual dealerships, etc. So we had to then start partnering with insurance companies. And then since then, obviously, the claim rates have gone up. And I think that's kind of working quite well. What doesn't work very well is that so vehicles are only insured as a complete body, so you can't insure batteries separately. I think some insurance companies have started insuring, but only part of the battery, not the complete battery. Yeah. Right. So I think that remains a problem, and also they don't insure batteries during charge. So if a battery bursts while charging, it's not insured. And I think the highest likelihood of a battery bursting is when it is charging, right? So of course there are some issues. I think these will need to be solved over a period of time. But again, I think the main thing with insurance is that, and I think maybe Mr. Gulati will disagree, but I think insurance being done at individual dealerships so that the vehicle just doesn't work. It has to be done at more aggregated.
Right, Sameer, I also agree to some of the points you mentioned. So the floor is open for